All right, it's 49ers update time with the headliner right now obviously being Brock Purdy. National media can't stop talking about this $45 million offer that has supposedly come out of thin air. There's no reputable report surrounding it, but the question is, would a $45 million offer for Brock Purdy be disrespectful? We're not sure if it exists. It might have just vanished from thin air like me. But I'm back now, and I will say that Purdy will not sign for $45 million. Ultimately, this contract is going to be much more valuable than that, and ultimately, we're going to judge this contract by the structure and the full guarantees and not the APY. So a lot of this is a waste of time. It is not a waste of time, though, to talk about Jordan Mason, especially since we're in Nashville right now. This is the Parthenon. It's actually a full-scale replica of the Parthenon in Athens because they call Nashville the Athens of the South. And Jordan Mason is from this Nashville area. He's set to be a restricted free agent for the 49ers, or not for the 49ers, just a restricted free agent for anybody to negotiate with on Wednesday. Before then, the 49ers can make sure that they contractually secure Jordan Mason for at least the 2025 season. And that's something they're going to want to do. I just wrote up on the San Francisco Standard my free agency intel. One of the pieces that I gathered at the NFL Combine is that there is significant trade interest for Jordan Mason from around the league. If the 49ers don't secure Jordan Mason under contract for 2025, they won't be able to benefit from this trade interest. So either they want him badly on the team as part of a running back room, including Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo in 2025, or they can use the fact that Mason has run extremely well, 5.3 yards per carry over his first 3 years, and they could take that and recoup some value. The 49ers have faced a situation very similar to the one that they're in right now with Jordan Mason back in 2020, when Matt Breida was also scheduled to be a restricted free agent. They ended up tendering Matt Breida at the second round level. And I expect the same for Jordan Mason. Back in 2020, it cost $3.3 million to tender Breida at the second round level. He signed a tender, which is a 1-year offer, and then the 49ers traded him to the Miami Dolphins for a 5th round pick 9 days later. This year, the second round tender costs $5.3 million. If Mason signs it, as he would have to sign it unless another team offered more money, then the 49ers could trade him, maybe even for more than a 5th round pick. The tender process is, I think, very beneficial to the 49ers because it's ultimate insurance. If you offer the second round tender and another team comes in and offers Jordan Mason more money, and the 49ers, with the right of first refusal, which comes as part of this, say, no, we don't want to pay him that much money, the 49ers would get a second round pick back in return for Jordan Mason. So you would create a worst case scenario of a second round pick in return for a running back who, some metrics indicate was running as well as Derrick Henry last season before he got hurt. Maybe not the same type of all-around game as Derrick Henry, but Jordan Mason was running extremely violently. And this was happening before 2024 as well. Running backs around the league are seeing their value increase. Saquon Barkley just signed a deal worth over $20 million per year. That has surpassed Christian McCaffrey for number one at the position. It was $19 million for CMC. So this blossoming of the running back may mean that Jordan Mason has real value for the 49ers, maybe not on their team, but for somebody else. Or if they want to stack that depth, they'll also have that opportunity. So much going on right now as far as moving pieces. Mason obviously would cost the 49ers at least $3 million, probably $5 million, unless they can find a deal outside of the RFA process with him, which could be possible, but he still won't be cheap. So the 49ers are going to have to play some financial Tetris here, especially when we're talking about their desire to rein back on the cash spend this offseason. Speaking of McCaffrey, he got a lot of money last offseason. Trent Williams got a lot of money last offseason. Brandon Ayuk got a lot of money last offseason. And the ROI wasn't quite there for San Francisco. They didn't have a beautiful structure of a 2024 season to make up for all the money that they spent. So whenever that happens, you could expect the team to tighten the belt. We saw it from the Philadelphia Eagles. We've seen it from the Los Angeles Rams, where there have been diminishing returns since that 2021 Super Bowl season, but now they're turning things around. Around the entire league, we have seen cost efficiency become the preferred play, and for the 49ers, it is definitely going to be the preferred play this offseason. That doesn't mean that they're going to completely preclude spending. We look at guys like Joey Bosa, we look at guys like Khalil Mack, Bosa's teammate, who's going to become available in a couple days. They can start negotiating with Khalil Mack on Monday if they so choose. Those are all potential value adds to San Francisco that fall outside the scope of youth. They obviously have 11 draft picks entering this talent acquisition period of free agency followed by the NFL draft. And those 11 picks will cost only about $14 million against the cap. For comparison, Chase Young signed for, I think, 13 or 14 million with the New Orleans Saints last year. So the 49ers can obviously use the draft as the lifeblood of cost efficiency for this team, which is obviously what they've been shooting for. But the best teams find the most efficient ways to sprinkle in veteran talent to help guide that locker room. So that's why we're going to be talking about Joey Bosa, who's available to sign now. That's why we've been talking about the family discount. That's why Khalil Mack is going to be on the radar. And that's why, this whole next 2 months has to be viewed as something that is a holistic project for the 49ers. Veterans, rookies, combine both and find the most cost-efficient roster that you can as San Francisco. And back to Jordan Mason, that's all going to be part of the calculus. Is $5.3 million or whatever it's going to be for a running back position, maybe even running back 3, too much? Sure. Brandon Ayuk, I wrote about it on the San Francisco Standard. The 49ers trying to save a boatload of money that they don't feel will be reflective of A-list play moving forward. If they feel that Brandon Ayuk is going to get back to form, sure. Take him for the next 4 years. He's owed $110 million over those 4 years. But if they feel that Brandon Ayuk is not going to get back into form and they could recoup some draft capital for him, they have built in that escape hatch through a trade before April 1st. And that's what I wrote about up on the Standard. That was the lead. I talked about potential receiver replacements, Devontae Adams, and some of the rumors there for the 49ers. And again, the entire efficiency basis on which the 49ers are going to decide these things with veterans. But in the case of Brandon Ayuk, a lot of people have not realized that San Francisco negotiated the deal last offseason with the out, an easy out that you don't normally expect to have just 1 season or 1 year following a massive contract extension. But Ayuk's money, the guaranteed money in 2025, doesn't come pouring in until April 1st. So we are now in this month of March. The grass is still yellow here. The grass is still dead. It hadn't started blooming here in Nashville. We're still at that time in this window of March while we're waiting for spring, where the 49ers have that window to offload Ayuk's contract at what essentially would be an 8.3% discount for an acquiring team. 4 years, $110 million, $27.5 million. It was $120 million at $30 million per year for the 49ers when they signed this contract with Brandon Ayuk on August 31st of last season. The ACL and the MCL is the big thorn here, the big factor that might dissuade a lot of teams from pursuing Brandon Ayuk, might make him hard to offload. But just last August, the Cleveland Browns, for one, were willing to send a 2, a 5, and Amari Cooper to the 49ers. The Patriots were willing to trade with the 49ers. That's why you can't rule any of this stuff out. This is a big reshuffling around the guy that I talked about at the very start of this video, Brock Purdy. And when we talk about a $45 million contract offer, well, obviously Purdy won't take that. It's very clear, I think, that the 49ers cannot afford to play with fire here. This is QB1. This is the most efficient quarterback in football ever since he joined the league in 2022. A holdout, and this season's over for San Francisco. So when that's the case, the 49ers have to adapt to the reality of the NFL, and that is, if you have a rookie deal quarterback, you can spend a lot around him and still be okay. But if your quarterback is going to be maturing into that big-time contract, you're going to have to find a way to trim the fat and be financially efficient around him so that he can be the financial centerpiece, because that's just how the market works. So $45 million is not going to be a final number. even if that is the initial number and we don't have any indication that it truly is. 45 million will not be the final number because the 49ers are finding ways to financially make things work around Brock Purdy so they can pay him what he's worth and so he could be the centerpiece of this team moving forward. Then they hope that it's a beautiful final product. That's what the 49ers are striving to build. They actually built this in 1897 for the 100th anniversary of the state of Tennessee. This is Centennial Park, which means 100. The 100th anniversary of the state of Tennessee and this beautiful monument, along with Vanderbilt University, which you can see off in the distance. That field that you're watching, I believe that during COVID, I'm not sure though, or one of these off seasons, George Kittle and C.J. Beathard ran routes and sharpened their skills on this field here in Nashville. Not too far from Vanderbilt, which is where tight end U is. Speaking of Kittle, he can get an extension this offseason, and that extension could actually lower his cap hit, although it would require a little bit more cash spend for the 49ers. Cap versus cash. I guess both of those are things the 49ers have to keep their eyes on, since this past season didn't exactly return the ROI that Jed York wanted. But moving forward, if they build this right, they're going to get their ROI. A lot happening. We'll talk to you guys next time.